Well, hi everyone, and welcome to Coffee with Craig, the show where myself, as a psychic mediums, talks about all things topical and what's going on in the world. And today, I'm one of the topics of the conversation because I appeared on a new program coming out on Netflix called The Squid Game: The Challenge. So, welcome to Coffee with Craig. Well, hi there, and welcome to the show again. So, those regular followers of this program will know it's all about predicting the future and so forth. But perhaps some unforeseen things happened in my world. Let me explain. You might have been seeing on the news coming up on Netflix, particularly. There's been the Squid Game from South Korea. Brilliant program, all about a dystopian sort of world of the future in which people do anything to win the prizes put forward by these behind the scenes sort of capitalists, Illuminati sort of characters, right, in strange masks and things. And you've probably seen the program. Hopefully, you have. But Squid Game also has its new component, which is called Squid Game: The Challenge. What was his name? Mr. Beast did a real life version of it out there on YouTube some years ago. But Studio Lambert here in the UK set up a version of it for ordinary people to go on the show and do exactly the same sort of challenges that people did in the film itself. And it gave us quite some shocks when we did it, including a few physical shocks that are quite shocking, really. So I'm going to tell you a bit about what happened to me on the show and tell you about my experiences and see what you think. And let's see what your comments are for this. I'd probably be you're a silly idiot, Craig, doing it in the first place. So I didn't actually set out to go on the show. I had them contact me and said, "Would you like to go on the show? And if you do want to go on the show, go and fill in the forms online, and we'll consider you for the show." So I thought, well, mentioned it to Jane, and our first reaction was, "Oh God, no! Why would we want to do something like that?" I mean, the whole idea of it is that you can win $4.6 million, right? That's the biggest prize ever been offered on a show of of a game show. And we thought, well, there's no chance you're going to win it, But I said, no, I don't think so. And I said no to it, and Jane said no to it until the grandkids, of course, got involved and heard that I'd been offered this. They said, "Oh, Granddad, you're going to have to do this. You're going to have to do this. Oh, it's so cool. It's so cool." Oh God. All right, then let's give it a go. I thought, we said we wouldn't do any more of these sort of shows since few bad experiences with people in television. But okay, so I've made the little video that you do to go on, and got accepted, and had to go through a whole load of pre-planning with the with the organisers, which I think was actually, to give them, to be fair to them, that was good. We had to talk to a psychologist, for example, and they would give you an assessment. Do you hear voices? Yes, I do. They don't tell me terrible things. I just happen to be a medium. So trying to explain these things to a psychologist was quite interesting in the first instance, actually. But I was passed through and I was accepted. And then I cast the I Ching about it. So should I do this? Because I was having doubts right from the start. Should I really be doing this sort of thing? Just coming up to 70 next birthday. Like, should I be doing something like this? Cast the I Ching, and it gives me an answer. It says, perchance the They said the wagon carries corpses carries corpses. Okay. The wagon carries corpses. That's a pretty negative. That says don't do it. And I thought, oh God, I'm going to go against the idea of the I Ching. And I thought, no, I'm not going to do this. So I rang them up and said, no, I'm not going to do this show. It's not really for me. And they were really, really upset about the fact that I didn't want to do it. Oh, Craig, you've got to come and do it. You're the number one person we want on the show. We're so happy with you. All the people at Netflix loved you. Blah, 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 blah. And I thought, oh, well, I'll ring you back. I'm not sure. Then another call. Oh, Craig, you must do this. It's a marvelous show. It's such an opportunity. No, right then, and Jane said, yeah, go on, do it then. Go on. So I thought, okay, we'll do it. We'll do it then. Okay, all right then, we'll do it. And I knew what I was going to let myself in for, because I thought, well, if I'm going to do something like this, you are taking some big chances, because we've seen the show. We know what goes on. We know that there's going to be something. I thought there's going to be something at the end where you run across panes of glass and fall into some hole. And I thought, they'll probably have something lined up where it's even more frightening than the real show. Probably have you bungee jumping over cliffs or something like that on broken glass and all the rest of it, and all the other challenges that we saw on the first series of Squid Game. So I thought, okay, gonna have to take it on. If you're going to do this, there's no belly aching. You are taking a risk. You might hurt yourself. That's possible. I doubt if any TV company would allow that to happen, but you hear stories of it. A couple of concerts recently, haven't we? We had people dying in concerts and things like that, where there's presumably lots of precautions taken by health and safety and all the rest of it. So okay, I decided to do it. Okay, so eventually go to the theatre, well, the hotel, where they have the line up for it, and you go through the getting fitted in one of the one of the green uniform things for it, and you're given your number, and you basically spent, I can't remember how long it was, but 2 days, I think I was in a hotel room with nothing, just a TV, and just sat there, and your food brought to you, because one of the big things that was really important to them, that nobody could speak to each other, no talking, no knowing who's who, that obviously they wanted to have a surprise element when people meet themselves on set, just like when you watch programs like Big Brother and things like that, they have that surprise element when people say, oh wow, it's you, and oh, who are you, and things like that. So I could understand that, but very frustrating, very, very boring, and people were getting really fed up with the food. I heard one black girl from America giving them a real hard time. Hey, you're giving us slops, girl, you're talking for me. You're talking for me. Horrible. Really. I mean, it was really gravy. That was, I remember. But it was not pleasant, that, to be honest, that they would say it was a good hotel. But it frankly, the food was pretty awful. And not talking to people for a couple of days is quite a tense thing when you're going into something quite stressful, because could be quite a serious sort of event that we're going to be doing here. This is something that you're going to, you're thinking, Christ, what am I going to be doing? Am I going to be leaping out of airplanes or what? You don't know, because I've been on TV lots of times, and they spring stuff on you. They never tell it to you straight. Anyway, eventually the time for going in there is decided, and we have to leave at 3:30 in the morning. I don't know whether we left at 3:30 in the morning. We arrived there at 3:30 in the morning, but it was ridiculous sort of time. And it was a freezing cold, sub-freezing sort of day. It was really bitter, bitter cold, really. They put us all onto coaches to go to the mystery location, which was a big film place somewhere up in Norfolk, I think it was. I'm not exactly sure where it was now. I've never bothered to look it up, but it was a big sort of huge, like, aircraft carrier buildings, massive airplane hangar sort of buildings, massive, great place. awe-inspiring when you go in. I mean, it was enormous. I never think they could build buildings that big. So it was a huge thing, and all the sets have obviously been built inside this, full-on big sets built inside it. But bitter, bitter cold. They gave us sort of a coat type of thing for some of them. They gave us an extra pair of white socks. You know, and these were sort of thin, sort of nylon-y things anyway. Absolutely no good, because actually even standing on the concrete was so cold because the floors were just solid concrete. And because this is a big open sort of building, it was literally like being outside. And 3 o'clock in the morning, it was really cold, and it was bitter, unexpected temperatures. So, you know, was it the fault of the production team not realizing just how cold it would be on that set? You know, I mean, I think it would have been pretty hard to anticipate it. To be honest, they obviously had to do their checks, but my God, was it cold? So when we go in to do the show, all in our uniforms, all in our gear and the green gear, you know, and can't remember how many of us the contestants there were. Around about 400, isn't it? I think was on the show. I can't remember. There's a lot of people, all in lines, all geared up to go in. And then there's a few sort of suspicions come in my mind when he's given me the microphone. Right, first thing I'm interested in is how on earth do you mic up 400 people? I mean, I've done it for 3 people at our studio, and it's fiddly because one mic interferes with another, and it's quite difficult. I said, "How do you do this? And how can you mic up 400 people?" And they were giving us these mics, and some people afterwards questioned that their mics weren't real at all. They were just fake mics. But some people obviously were mic'd up, because when we went in, before we went into the red light, green light, you can see it on the show. I won't explain all that to those that haven't seen the show, but you'll know. So we go in and we're ready for this red light, green light, and it's wow, well, it was a brilliant set, brilliantly done set. There's no doubt about that. It was brilliantly done. But we're all shivering cold already when we get in there, and we're all stamping our feet, trying to keep warm. When, you know, before we had time to go in, I was able to meet a few people, and I met a really nice guy who I hope's on the show, because I haven't seen the show yet. It hasn't been released at the time of making this. He was a jet fighter pilot, really nice fella. And we were working out what's the best way to get from one end to the other. You know, we're going to run. We know we've got to stay still. How can we get into a position where we stand in a comfortable position? Because if you land in an awkward position and you've got to stand, and they were saying you might have to stand up 2 minutes. And so, well, 2 minutes standing is a long time actually in an awkward position, because you can really hurt yourself for 2 minutes. So we were working out different ways we could, you know, structure it. And, you know, we did all right with the technique we worked out, making sure you land on both feet in the right position so you're not slightly out of kilter. Because, you know, I've done yoga all my life, and I know that, you know, you stand correctly in yoga, you can stand for hours and hours on end. I mean, particularly with Ashtanga yoga, you can hold a pose for a long period of time if you get the perfect poise, and that's the whole thing. If you're slightly out, you can do yourself harm. Anyway, we pre-planned like that, and we get into the show, and it's wow, you know, look at all this amazing set, you know, with the doll at the other end with its head looking round, you know, and the guys in their pink suits with the PlayStation style crosses and squares and triangles and circles and so forth. And yeah, so it's quite an awe-inspiring experience. But going back to the mics, it became pretty obvious that, you know, they already had a few people before we go on. They had a few people earmarked because they looked for them, right? And then sort of interviewed them with camera to say, well, how are you getting on the show? What, you know, asking them all questions and things like that. And I was thinking they're not selecting people kind of randomly here. They've already got a few people that they knows they're going to be part of the final show. Pretty obvious to me, because I thought, well, if they interview me, then I know I've got a live mic, and I know I'm going to get I'm going to be on stage too. You'll get through by hook or by crook, because they want you to get through. A whole mixture of really quite interesting characters, really some quite over the top, a few really they didn't get to talk to many people because they tried to keep us apart so much. But in the short time you get to talk to people there, it was obvious that most of the people there had high social media followings. It seemed to me that the plan was to get as many people from social media on there as possible to get as many YouTubes like this one talking about the show, right? And so I talked to quite a few big name YouTubers there. And also there was quite a few people from all sorts of interesting walks of life, from all types of sexual persuasion, obviously, from the way they were prancing around, like the ballet dancing guy I remember playing around there. There was quite interesting people, all nice, actually, all kind of, although we know we're going in for a life or death struggle with each other, there was quite a comradeship at the start, at that first beginning stage. But I was pretty sure, that some people moaned about it in the press later on and said it was fixed. And actually, I think at that first stage, they had already earmarked who they wanted to get through, the main ones. They were not gonna blow them up, because what happens is they put a sort of a suit type thing on you. There's a thing at the back which is full of dye or something, and if you've been caught, bang, if you're not moving when you stopped, it explodes. So your chest would explode with this dye, right? I'm not going to tell you whether I've got through or not. It's up to you to watch the program and find out. But this is what was happening. The dyes were exploding in people's chests. And so that's what the backpack thing was all about. Although they said to me, that's where your microphones are. I thought, don't give me bullshit. That's not a microphone. That's an explosive pack. I sussed that out straight away. They're saying, oh, this is your microphone. I said to them, that's not a microphone. So I don't know. They think we're idiots, I think, sometimes. But perhaps we are for going on the show in the first place. Anyway, so that's the start of the show. And then the actual first one, red light, green light. So those that watched it know that when you get a red light, you've got to stop. Then they play that eerie sort of bit of Squid Game music, and then you run as much as you can, and then you stop again when it goes red light. And so we're all geared up. We all line up, ready. Long bit of filming beforehand. It was really quite slow paced, and I thought, wow, they've obviously got to get their shots. This isn't here just to play a game. This is here to make a movie. So I understood that. And then, of course, we all dash when the go is given, like a horse race, with everybody running and stopping, and some being shot out, bang, 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 because they wobbled or they slid or they fell over. And everybody there was really, really determined. I mean, really determined. I saw people who would stand and would never going to budge. Everybody, if they were thinking of the prize, they were thinking of the $4.6 million prize. I'd already agreed, actually. I said to them, they said, what will you do with the prize? I said, I'll give all of it into the foundation. You've heard about the Hamilton Parker Foundation. I said, all that money, I'm not going to have a penny of it. It's all going to go into the foundation. And I said, that will be that's a charitable organization. And it's all going to go in there, and we're going to build a spiritual center with it. That's how I thought we could get the spiritual center. So, if you want help with the spiritual center, have a look in the description below. Perhaps you can give a donation to help us actually achieve that, and give us a donation will help, because that's what we're still trying to do. So I was prepared to put the whole lot in. I said that in the contract stage at the beginning. I don't want the money. It's going to go into the foundation, and that's the plan. Oh, okay. So where we get back to the story again. So basically, we all run forward towards the door, and then bam, 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 a drone would come over. Actually, what would happen is a drone would fly over through the building, in this big building. And as the drone flies over, it would hover near people and be watching people. And if there's somebody, it obviously had a camera on it as well, but it appeared like it was shooting. It didn't. It was because that drone was watching, and everybody's sort of eyes are following the drone like this, and then bangs, one or two packs would go as people were standing. But it became pretty apparent straight away that there's going to be much more than 2 minutes standing, because we seemed to be standing for bloody ages, it felt like, and it was really very uncomfortable right from the start. But remember, as I said, it was freezing cold. You could hardly, it was like standing on the ice. Your feet were like gone completely numb. Everybody was in the same position, totally numb feeling, and it already started to wake even on the first run. And I thought, God, this isn't going to be easy. This was sub-freezing conditions. This was really quite difficult, and it was already getting a bit boring for us because it seemed to be ages between each take. And then you sort of stand there, and it goes, and you run again as fast as you can and stop. You know, you don't know if it's going to be a long run or a short run. I did pretty well. I was getting along quite well. But then there was the breaks, you know, then there was this long waiting. The cameramen would come out, they'd wander across, saunter across, and everybody stood there sort of like this, you know, and they come up and they film this person, or they film this person that's sort of in a position like this, you know, and they film, they fiddle around. You think, good God, get on with it. And it seemed longer and longer and longer. It was not 2 minutes by any minute. It was 10 minute holds, up to 15 minutes sometimes. And somebody wrote about this and said it was 26 minutes. And I don't know how they timed it, but it certainly felt like forever. Because if you're holding yourself in a cold position, as someone that's done yoga all their life, I know the importance of getting the balance in the body right. It's all about alignment, isn't it? It's all about getting the right alignment, and that's good for your health. But if you stand in freezing cold conditions in an awkward position, your body just gives in. It damages the joints. It damages everything in the body. Everything. In fact, it's pretty dangerous, particularly when it's in these conditions. And then you know, I don't know how many runs it was. We must have done this about 6 times, I suppose, 6 goes at running, right? So you got 15 minutes each time. The whole thing was supposed to take 2 hours, we were told before we went in. Somebody said it took 7 hours. So 7 hours standing in a difficult position. You tried standing 5 minutes in a slightly awkward position. You know, you try sitting in a seat with your head to the side for 10 minutes. It hurt, you know, your whole body is in this. And what was happening, I saw people I saw one person in front of me collapse. Bam, went right down. I thought, my God, everybody shouts medic, and they come running out and seats the person. But there seemed to be a lot of delay with that. And then you run again, and you hear again medic, and you hear someone go bam. And one woman, I think it was a woman, went down. She went down flat down hard onto this solid concrete floor, because everybody, you know, people were thinking, there's no way I'm going to give up. I'm going to give up $4.5 million just to not move. So people were pushing themselves beyond their natural limits. People were not running and not standing, you know, giving in. Fair enough. I knew it was going to be like this, so I thought, well, you know, okay, I'm not going to moan about this. You don't go into something like this and bellyache about it. And I didn't bellyache about it afterwards. But a lot of them afterwards went to the press. They went to Vanity Fair in America, and some of them went to the Sun and the Mirror. I think had done talks about this, exposing what was going on. So I can understand how they got so upset about this, you know, because it was terribly painful. It was really, really painful. Excuse me. And there was no loo breaks. So 7 hours, you know, you just had to handle that, of course. Went on far too long. I think what had happened is I think they hadn't anticipated how long the filming would take, and they hadn't anticipated how cold it would be there. I think it would have been quite dangerous standing for 15 to 25, 26 minutes, even in warm conditions. But you put it into sub-zero conditions, and it was really terrible. It was like being in the gladiator arena in a way. You know, it had that sort of feel. And if someone fell down, they used to come out in their pink suits with black coffins and cover up the person while the medics saw it, so it wouldn't upset the filming. You know, so this was also, it was pretty cruel. You know, the whole concept of the game is cruel, but we're playing a game. We're not doing it in reality. You know, and people were. I saw one woman afterwards. They put her by the fire and they had one sort of there was 2 fires there, 2 small sort of Calagas type heaters, which gave no heat whatsoever. And they put her in a space blanket by that fire that everybody was hoping to get round, you know. I was shivering, white as a sheet, you know. And so, you know, where I spoke to my lawyer afterwards to ask should we do anything about this? And I thought, no, I'm not. You go into these games understanding that you're going to put up with difficulties, but I think there was a lot of negligence there. Frankly, there was, and I'm sure others would, you know, probably maybe progress that. I don't know, but that's not the, you know, if you're going to go into a show like this, you're going to have to go into it, and with the knowledge that it's not going to be easy. You know, you can't, you know, you can't sort of start moaning about it when you know what you're going to do. So yeah, so there we all are, freezing cold, and you'll be able to watch the first part of the show coming up tonight on Netflix. So I've not seen it yet. I don't know what if it shows anything of me or what it shows of me or not. You know, I think it's worth a look, to have a look at it. I certainly obviously watch it, and I think it's worth a look. You know, so anyway, so that's my thoughts. What's your thoughts about these things? I mean, for me, I just think this is typical television, you know, typical reality type of television where you put people into these situations. In the end of the day, I wish it well. I hope it does do all right, you know, but I think a lot of these things really do need a little bit more closer inspection by, you know, independents, health and safety people, not their own health and safety people. I think the show should have been stopped at the beginning. I have no idea on the latter stages how it went. You don't know how far I'm going to get in this, but it was interesting. It was worth doing, I think, for the experience. But even so, it's you know, you learn your lesson from these things. So the lesson I learned is listen closely to what the I Ching tells you. Perchance the wagon carries corpses. It said that could have been me, I think, on there. And when I came out, you know, I was quite ill from it actually, because I could not hold a knife and fork. My hands had cramped like that. I couldn't open. You know, I had to force my hand open. But the problem is both hands had somehow got so much cold in them I couldn't move, and I had backaches and things. And you know, I'm used to TV, and I've been on things like this, and I know what they treat you like. But some of the people there were major disappointments for people I saw that had to go back. You know, people come all the way from Australia, all the way from California, flown all that way to get chucked out at the beginning. And I knew that, you know, it's going to be that. It's likely you could get chucked out at the beginning or any stage, but they were really disappointed. For them, that was the big time on TV, and they were sobbing, you know. So, you know, I think those things have to be taken into account sometimes when you watch the show. Look at it and look at the faces and see what's really going on in that person's mind, you know. Okay, well, thanks for joining me. I'll have a chat with you later on. Let's have some comments. What do you think about the show? Maybe you've seen the show when you'll come back to it and put a comment in here and see what you think. You know, what do you think about TV in general, in the way it treats us? Okay, thanks. Bye for now. Well, my latest book is called Be Happy. This is all about my trip to India, particularly to see Sharavana Baba and some of the extraordinary things I discovered there. But it's also a bit of an adventure story as well, because it tells the story of how the Indian oracle, the NAADI, showed me how to save the life of my grandson. So it's a very poignant and very important book to me. And I think you'll enjoy the kind of spiritual adventure of it in some ways, and also some of the uplifting stuff about how to be happy in this somewhat unpleasant world sometimes. So it's quite a hopeful book. It's a book that I think you can learn a lot from if you're into the spiritual path. But this is kind of a third book in a series, actually, because my first book on the NAADI oracle was called Messages from the Universe. So this tells how I went to India and discovered the NAADI, and really I was one of the first Westerners to really stumble upon it and find the real NAADI. It gives you some warnings about the negative stuff as well. And it's also quite autobiographical, because it tells how Jane and I, our work with Princess Diana, the spirit of Diana. It talks about our work with Doris Stokes. It showed how we developed as people and as mediums, and our backstory as well. So I think you'll enjoy it. If you enjoy watching Jane and myself, I think you'll enjoy the backstory. But particularly the India stuff came into this book. And then I went to India to fulfill what we call the remedies. And this is in my book, Mystic Journey to India, which is the second book in this kind of series of 3 now we get. They kind of link together in a way. They follow on from each other. You can read them independently, of course. And there was also a movie made about this called Mystic Journey to India that you can find on Amazon, and there's links to that in the description below. Now, if you're interested in developing your psychic side, I've written lots of books about psychic development, but this one is probably my best, I feel. It's called Psychic School. It's very popular on Amazon. It teaches you how to become a psychic medium. It teaches what we call evidential mediumship. That is mediumship that gives proof, that can be verified. It really goes very deep. It's a simple, easy to read book, but it goes very deep into the spiritualist principles of developing proper mediumship. And it shows you how to develop form a circle so that you can work within a circle and become really good at your mediumship. So hopefully lots of you will read that and understand where I'm coming from with learning about mediumship. It has a companion book that goes with it too called Psychic Protection. Both of these again can be read independently. Psychic Protection will tell you all about the other side of mediumistic gifts, such as ghost hunting or strange synchronicities, or even the weird stuff like voodoo and strange stuff like that. Lots of intriguing, slightly darker stories in this one, which I think you would enjoy as well. Also, I've written a book about the afterlife itself called What to Do When You're Dead. Now, you might enjoy this. As you can see, the title's a little bit tongue-in-cheek. So there's a few humorous stories in there. It's quite a light read, but it does go very deep as well into the idea of what is the afterlife actually like? What do we experience when we go there? And what do all the cultures and faiths of the world say? And what do they have in common? And of course, my perspective as a medium with lots of stories about mediumship and proofs of life after death. So I think you'd enjoy that one too. Now, with the mainstream publishers, I was best known for my work writing dream books, because I had a number of bestsellers with that. But I've republished them in a book called Your Secret Dream Meanings. And as you can see, this is a pretty substantial book. And I think you will enjoy this one too, particularly if you're into dreams. Not only understanding the meaning of your dreams, but also this gets into the psychic side of dreams, things like lucid dreams, out-of-body experiences in dreams, time shifts and premonitions that come through dreams and so forth, all in here. A very substantial book. I've tried to price it as low as I can for such a big book like this, but I think if you're into dreams and you're into the unconscious, into the idea of, can our intuition open up into another world through dreams? That's another good book for those that enjoy that sort of thing. So there you go. That's it. That's the sale over, guys. But I hope you enjoy it. Like I say, do place a comment and do go and buy them, because you will help support our work and support this channel as well. So thank you very much for joining me. See you soon. Bye for now.